DC Metro Real Producers. This is your publisher, Kristen Brindley, and I'm here with the wonderful Tina Del Casale of Sandy Spring Bank. Thank you so much for being with us. And Tina is in our May edition that just hit boxes. So it just hit mailboxes. So has a beautiful cover. And then here's Tina right here. And make sure you check out her story if you have not read it yet.
Thank you, Ryan, for making me look so good.
Oh, yeah, Ryan Corvello. Yeah, thank you, Tina. He's been with us since the very beginning, and so have you. You've been part of Real Producers since we very first started. And, I love how you interact with the community. 21 years with GCAR, 20 years on committees. You have a heart of service. Like, you actually really care about the people. You talk about the number of people you help, not volume, not any of that other stuff. Like, I appreciate that about you. And, thank you for all you do. Yeah. Tell us about, so how did you get into lending, Tina? Like, did you always think you'd be a lender? Tell us how this happened.
No, I didn't even know what lending was. I was in a college, and my dad was a mortgage broker in Northern California. And it was the era of refinances taking about 3 months. Boy, does that sound familiar. And by the time we would get appraisals in, all the documents would be outdated. So he's like, I'm going to hire you to come in after school and process for me. And back then we had to make sure you had the same color ink on your forms, because if someone had filled it out with 2 different colored inks, the lender would kick it back. And if they used whiteout to correct something, they'd kick it back. So he was like, I need you to process the files for me. And that was the beginning. Is I processed for my dad, finished my college education, went out into the real world for a little bit, 6 months. And then he sat me down and was like, okay, are you ready to make real money? You have an affinity for this. Let's do it. And in California, you had to have a real estate license to do lending. So I got to meet a bunch of realtors because we all had to take continuing education together. We would take the ski buses up to Tahoe, do our continuing ed on the bus on the drive up, then ski all day, and sleep on the way home because we were all tired. That was, and my cat will unfortunately come through the screen a couple times. She just will do that.
They all
like, they do. So that's how I got into lending. And here I am 32-ish, 3-ish years later. It was 1989. So love it. Still love helping people, still love that there is no 2 transactions the same, keeps us on our toes. And I love real estate agents, and I love working with clients and seeing that face when they're at that closing table and they're getting keys, whether it's the first time, whether it's the retirement home. Traditionally, no one's ever unhappy when keys are handed to them.
Well, you can't fake genuinely liking people, and you genuinely like people, like you enjoy people, and it's fun having you at events and interacting. It's just it's not only do you do great business, but it's a good time to also spend time. So we really appreciate that. What do you think sets you apart or makes you different, Tina? What makes you different, do you think?
And I always hate that question because I don't think it should be focused on the person themselves. I think what we do is teamwork. And I think it's meshing with a team that makes you a good partner. And it's working well with everyone from the internal staff at the title company to the teammates at the listing agent, with the buyer's agent, making your buyers feel comfortable. So it's creating a whole transaction that is happy for everyone. Remember that old win-win? I believe that everybody should be happy. Nobody should feel like they lost out on a transaction. Everyone should feel like they succeeded at the end of the day.
Love that. Yeah. No, that's a fantastic focus. So tell us about how do you get clients? So you're at Sandy Spring Bank. How do you get clients, and what do you focus on? Because lending is a large, there's a lot of different types of loans and so on. Tell us how you get clients and what you focus on.
Yeah. Most of my referrals are past clients and my real estate family. and I do treat them like family. You know, we go to happy hours together, we hang out together. You know, we don't have to be best friends, but you have to like each other to work the long, weird hours that we do. You know, if you're calling me at 10 o'clock at night, I better not be grinding my teeth when I pick up the phone to talk to you. I better be like, hey, how you doing? What's going on? What do you need? So that's important. And, you know, I am lucky that I work for a bank that has some unique products. And I work out of a branch that I have a great relationship with the manager, and she introduces me to her business clientele, who then I introduce to my realtors. That makes them happy too. So
That's another thing in there too. Yeah.
yes. So it's a nice hybrid fit to be with a bank that has its own products as well as a direct lender. I also love talking to my past clients. You know, it's funny because they'll call, and, you know, I was speaking to one last week and they're like, I think it's been 7 years since you helped us get into this house. And they're now buying a second home in St. Michael's. And they were like, a realtor tried to get us to use her lender, but you know, we called you. And I was like, yeah, and it breaks my heart.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the best compliment, right? When
Mm-hmm.
they refer in return.
And that you feel like, you know, that 7 years feels like yesterday. That when you're talking to a client, they're like, yeah, I feel like you know, it's just been yesterday that we were speaking.
Well, and you just did a project on your home, right? And tell us about construction and perm, because you're passionate about those things as well, right?
Yes.
Like, tell me a little about that. Yeah.
So one of the things I love the construction to perm product is because I've done it myself. And I always thought I was an expert prior to doing my own construction. So many of you know that I renovated my 1910 row home in the district, finished up after COVID. So, you know, didn't get to show it off. I probably will have a party finally this year and show it off because the backyard is now finally done. But it was a lot longer, as we all know, than we ever thought. But the end results, you see some of the pictures in the article are actually in my house. So that's my kitchen, my backyard. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah. So it was a passion. My mom was an interior decorator, so I've always loved, you know, just the symmetry of beauty around you. You know, we work long, hard hours. Our home is our sanctuary. It's our peace. It's our zen. It's our, you know, rebuild time. Yes. So if we don't feel calm in our homes, then, and more power to you guys who have the young kids, because that, I just have 2 cats, and calm sometimes even with just 2 pets. And here she comes again.
I have a 14-year-old cat that runs the house too.
So yeah, it's a passion because I love helping people build their dream. And traditionally when you build, you are building a dream. You're not just, you know, this isn't your first home. This is I've dreamed of that big backyard, or nowadays of having an office that overlooks a beautiful park or backyard so that it's peaceful versus at my dining room table while my kids are screaming, running past me. So it's, and each person's dream is so different. You know, what they want. Yeah, you know, we see the new construction homes and, you know, it has a sign of a formula. But when you're building it yourself, you're like, no, I need this for my kids. And you know, I'm addicted to HGTV. So I was watching, what's the one where they redo the block? Rock the Block, I think it is.
I think
and
so.
One of the teams built a slide from one level down to their kid's bedroom in the other level. And I was like, now only a parent that has kids would think to do a slide from upstairs to downstairs into the child's bedroom. And it was a spiral slide.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's things like that, those unique touches that it's like, when it's yours, you're like, I can put something like a slide in the middle of my kid's bedroom. And hope they go to sleep one time. So, you know, things like that, when you see, and they talk about it, and, you know, a couple of my recent ones, they talk about that their parents or grandparents were in the building industry, and that they used to hang out on their parents' construction site or their grandfather's construction site. And they showed me articles that their grandfather was featured in. And so again, it's not just about building a house, it's about memories. It's about building for their future. And, when you've been doing lending for 31, 32 years, you like the excitement of seeing someone's face so excited, hearing their passion, hearing, and then, during the transaction, they do call me with some of the tortures too. I had one that was finishing recently, and he goes, "We're about 3 weeks away, and I just hear that rates are going up and up and up." And I was like, "Don't worry, we'll modify you now. You can finish the landscaping out of your own pocket if you're okay with that, and we'll lock in your rate now and move you into a 30-year fix, because our construction to perm product does not have a fixed option, but we do modify them into our internal product." So he was like, and then he'd be calling me like a weekend, "Oh my God, he still didn't get me what we needed." I said, "It's okay. Okay, we're going to make it. We'll get through to that piece. All we need is this, one little piece from the county, and we'll knock it out. We'll get it taken care of for you." So, even, the angst of, delays in construction, material cost increase, these are just things that are part of dream building 101.
And you just did, I mean, you can relate on a really high level, like very currently to the whole process.
Yep.
No, that's great. And it's a lot of flexibility within those products with what you're doing. So
Yeah, absolutely. And, some people buy their piece of land, and it takes them a year to get their plans together. We work with that as well. Okay, we'll help you finance the land while you work with your architect to figure out what's going to work with that piece of land. And then others work with, they find a builder that's got the land and will build them the house to their dreams. So yeah, that combination.
yeah, no, that's beautiful. And in this marketplace, that's a pretty great thing that you focus on actually too. um, well, is there anything you want to share with our real producers? Any tips in the marketplace or anything like that you'd like to share?
Tips for what? Like getting offers accepted? Tips for making the transaction smooth? What kind of tips would you like, Kristen?
You know what? How about we do one of both? How about a tip for making the transaction smooth and a tip for this market? Because we'll be putting this out pretty quickly, and I know you get a lot done. So yeah, one of each
Okay.
would be great. Yeah.
So tip for making the transaction smooth. Have the financing lined up in advance. I still, believe it or not, have agents that believe in taking the client out first, and then they're in love with a place, and you're scrambling in this market to put together something. And sometimes their situation is a little unique, or they have a unique income, and you're like, all right, when I call listing agents, because I have 100% confidence in what we can close and how quickly we can do that, taking that away from me. And then I just have to say, "Hi, how you doing? Yeah, I'm here if you have questions." The client has good credit. That's a pretty brief conversation. Tip for today's market. I would hope that most, in Samantha, say hi. I would hope that most agents are taking advantage of having your lender call the listing agent. It amazes me still that when I'm talking to the listing agent, they're like, "Well, I really appreciate that you're calling, and you're only like one of 2 out of the 10 offers that have called." And I'm like, "Well, good for my guy. Too bad for the other 80, you guys." So, that's not my problem. I'm taking care of my client. So, use the tools at hand.
Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you, and we know that you help a lot of really great agents in our marketplace. And thank you for supporting Real Producers throughout the entire time we have been around in DC Metro. Thank you. Yeah.
Anytime, Kristen.
um, well, you heard it here at DC Metro Real Producers. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Tina.
DC Real Producers rock.